Wow, here we are. The Roundtable, the event everyone has been waiting for. Look at the talent. Look at the talent on your screens right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is awesome. Well, like Dak was saying, my name is Matt. I'm the host of Composer Code, and it's my privilege to be here with just a bevy of incredibly talented folks in the game audio space. So I just want to go really quickly and introduce everyone here and chat. If you have any questions for anyone here, just shoot them over. And this is going to be very chill, very conversational, just to get to know these incredible creators a little bit better. So starting on my screen, we have Danielle McRae. She is a voice actor. She has some incredible credits. We're going to get into some of those throughout the chat. We have Sydney Kerstad. She's a pianist, also the head of the CEO, the owner and founder of Smart Game Piano. She does piano arrangements on YouTube. We have Natalie Tenenbaum, who's also a pianist. She plays a lot with the 8-Bit Big Band. She's got some cool YouTube videos as well. I checked those out before, did a little research there. We got LyricWulf. He does video game arrangements on piano. And his constituent, Natty, who is here for moral support, tech support, and lyrics hype man, I think. And then we have 8-Bit Music Theory, the ineffable, the inevitable, the uneffable 8-Bit Music Theory here as well. With us, we have Grant Kirkhope, the man, the myth, the legend. We have Elisa Melendez. She is a voice actor, songwriter, very multi-talented creator, musician. So we're super excited to be here. And did I forget anybody? My Skype is overflowing with beautiful, talented faces. So I just want to make sure I didn't forget anybody. Is that everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, guys, 2020, right? Okay. We don't need to talk about it anymore. Okay. There's enough garbage that's going on. But so I wanna flip the script a little bit here, okay? And I want to ask you guys, what is something awesome that has happened in 2020? We don't talk about awesome things in 2020 enough. This could be personally in your career. Elisa, let's start with you. What's something awesome that's happened for you in 2020?
Wow. This is so not even planned, but it's really funny how kind of quarantine has kind of worked in a weird way. My husband, who's also my guitar player, he is a production manager at a venue, and so he always works nights. Due to circumstances, venues haven't been open as much as usual, and so we've been spending so much more time together, and it's been awesome in terms of I have a new EP that I've been trying to work on, and I have a Patreon and like voice acting gigs and all this stuff, and actually having him with me cooped up has actually been like really awesome creatively. So it's actually been like a nice little kind of silver lining in all of this.
That is fantastic. It's amazing that you guys like each other. That's great. It's always good when the
20 years, it's like, almost like just stubborn at this point, and just kind of like we just want to commit to the joke so hard that it's like, yeah, might as well.
That's right. The husband and wife quarantine together thing can go one of two ways. Tends to be one of two extremes. So I'm glad to hear that it's gone that way. Lyric, what about you, man? What's something awesome that's happened for you in 2020?
So something awesome that happened to me in 2020, I guess, it would be something amazing that I did. Is I coded a software that I call Embers, and I do on YouTube these like falling note piano style videos, and I used to use After Effects to make those videos happen, and those would take like days to render. So I coded a software to do it for me, and it does it like blazing fast, and I've like released it to the public for people to use for free. And it's been a really wild ride because like this is my first development project, my first like real coding project, and this is like my entrance into using like game engines and coding stuff. It's been a wild ride so far. I'm really satisfied with the results so far. I think if I had not been so caged in, I don't think I would have had as much time to really dedicate to working on it. So I guess in a sense, I'm kind of thankful. Kind of trying to look on the bright side for that. So yeah, that's what's been going on for me.
Dude, that's a great perspective.
That's
First of all,
amazing.
that sounds amazing. I absolutely think there's so much room for innovation in the tech software, / music space, and can people download this? I mean, this sounds awesome. Is this something
Yeah.
available?
So yeah, it's the website is embers.app .app. So yeah, you can download and use it for free. It's like you can customize so much about it, and like people surprise me to this day. Like they're making like these looks that I'd never even like imagined, just because I put so many parameters in there, and you can change it up, and like some of them are just unrecognizable to me in such a unique way, you know.
That's amazing. All right, we're gonna talk after this call. We're gonna partner up. We're gonna go publicly traded. We're gonna make you rich here, buddy.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah, let's go public.
That's right. Well, that's awesome, man. Thank you so much for sharing. Sydney, what is something awesome that's happened for you in 2020?
For me personally, I started a new project that I hadn't done before, which is arranging specifically for like a piano selections album. I partnered up with Materia Collective, and sometime this holiday season, you can get a piano selections book of Dust, an Elysian's Tale, for more geared towards intermediate players, which I'm really excited because I really think music should be as accessible as possible. So the more people that can play this book, the better. And I'm very stoked for that.
That is really, really cool. Well, does anyone else want to share anything cool that's happened this year? We don't necessarily have to go through the whole table here, but I'd love to hear if anyone else has anything specifically awesome that's happened in 2020. Ben, you bought a house.
I can say something. I guess I got to work on a project, on a game that I kind of played like to death when I was at Rare, like in 2000 or so, around about there, maybe 1999. And I never thought I'd ever get to write music for it, and I've just finished writing music for it. I guess I usually can't say what it is, but it's a real bucket list for me. I would never thought I'd ever get to write music for this particular franchise. So that was amazing for me to do this year. It's been really fantastic.
That's awesome. I was teasing Grant on our interview. It's like every time I interview him, something amazing has happened. But on the previous interview, he was just like, "That'll never happen to me. Oh gosh, I'm probably gonna quit tomorrow." And it's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, I wrote the music for Smash Ultimate Banjo." Yeah. Well, that's really cool, man. That's awesome. I'm curious, how has Natalie? I'll ask you this question because I know that as a pianist, you're very often collaborating with other musicians. How's the quarantine affected the way that you practice or the way that you stay sharp on your instrument, if at all?
That's a great question. And we had a whole panel about this yesterday with Sydney, where we were chatting about methods to stay focused and how do we structure our days and like stay motivated and practice and so on. But also to link to what we were talking about before and all the amazing news that you guys just shared about what you were able to experience and achieve during this quarantine. I feel like for me, I also finally have time, because normally I would be at my day jobs on Broadway, where I play 8 shows a week on Mean Girls, which I also created arrangements for, and I'm there, a lot in rehearsals and shows and so on. So I finally had time, like Elisa, to hang out and finish a couple of projects, which are a web series that I co-wrote and scored, and kind of like figured out how to, finally wrap that project, and an EP like you that I'm going to release very soon. So those projects took a lot of my time to finish it early in the quarantine. And now I'm back to focusing, like you said, on practicing and developing all these methods of like identifying what are the next kind of things that I want to conquer in my musical development, and structuring time for each thing, and like figuring out how to really, get better. So that's the one positive thing of 2020, if I were to sum that up. And I hope I answered the question, even though I
for sure.
like 15
Where
things.
Can people go if they want to learn more about the web series?
So we just wrapped it. We're going to start, it's like each episode has a music video, and we're going to start dropping those towards the holiday season, and then releasing the entire series early in 2021. So it's coming soon.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Well, Danielle, I want to ask you a question because the one thing that I know almost nothing about from a craft standpoint is voice acting. And Elisa, you can speak to this as well. So I'm curious, what is the process for a voice actor like? You know, once you're given a contract or a gig or a game you want to work on, how much license do you have to sort of shape the character? I'd be very curious to hear what your creative process is like, Danielle, and then we can go to you, Elisa.
Well, for me, I just listen to the director, but there's times where before I go into a session after I've signed the contract, I will go to the session, sing as the voice of a character I booked, just to kind of stay in character. So it's kind of method. And I would kind of think, what would they do before they, have to go in a booth for so many hours? But there's times where we have to follow a script line for line, and there's times where the director will be like, hey, do you think you can make up something like on the spot, like improv for me a little bit? So it's a little bit of both, depending on who you're working with in the industry and what project it is.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's interesting because I've done a couple of things. Some sessions will be like, here's the script where you're going to talk about this wonderful dental practices services and why they are the best for you and your family. And so you kind of have to read that.
You sound like a commercial in my ears right now. That was so
great.
smooth. That was amazing.
Those are the
You
kinds
just
of
turned
things
it
I
on
love.
like that.
Yeah,
That was incredible.
Just you got to do the thing. And so some of them would just be like, here, talk about how awesome. I hate the dentist. So, acting. I have to talk about how awesome this dental practice. Do it. And then you send off the file and then no news is good news. But then sometimes you'll actually have the live director on a Zoom call with you, and it'll be like, like an Excel grid, and you kind of go like line by line on stuff. And sometimes it's, this is what I want the character to be, so kind of deliver it this way because by saying it this way, it's important to this thing that happens later on. But otherwise, it's like, what do I think the character is going to sound like when they say this? It'll be something like, I love this little cat or something. And they're like, well, I don't know. Actually, I don't think she likes cats. And I'm like, I don't know. I feel like if the line says that she's grown up with cats, I feel like she'd still have a soft spot for them, And sometimes you can have that conversation with the director. It just depends on who you are and what your relationship with, all that jazz. So sometimes you're just reading off a script about a dentist, and other times you're crafting a character live on site and fighting with all of the awesome things in a home studio that maybe you don't have to fight with in another studio. I hate cicadas. End of story.
Oh, cicadas, man. The worst thing. They're the worst. The worst bugs. I mean, what do they even do besides just make noise? They probably do something super crucial for the ecosystem. But so a follow-up question to that, Elisa, is, and then I'll go to Danielle as well, is I'm again super curious. I consider myself very much a student of that whole discipline. I know almost nothing other than what you've told me here. When did you guys know that, like, yeah, I want to pursue this? I want to be a voice actor. Was it like you had an expressive voice, you could do impressions, and so your parents are like, hey, you should go into this? How does one sort of enter that career path? Because one might even argue it's even more niche than a video game composer or sound designer is like a video game voice actor, So what are the steps for, taking you to that place?
Gosh. Well, first, have a mom that works at an advertising agency when you're a kid, and she'll like sneak you into the booth to do a couple lines for a PSA when you're like 6, and then you're like, this is awesome. Wait,
Nice.
and I get a check after this? Wait, hold on. I'm like sick. And then you take a
Whoa.
break for a really, really long time, and then you work for a video game company that needs temp VO, and then things snowball from there. But it's one of those things where I don't know how many like actors or musicians can compare with this, but it's that sort of bug of like doing something in front of people, whether it's for your family or like your kindergarten class or something, and just like that moment where they react to you and you either made them laugh or you just kind of have an audience in the palm of your hand. Like even when you're 5, it's sort of like, this is cool. And then
That's
you
awesome.
just kind of chase that feeling forever and however you can get it.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think for me, I think it's for every voice actor, anyone in general. Persistence definitely goes a long way. When I first started out, about a good 3-4 months in my career, I didn't book anything, and so I was thinking about I should just quit. Maybe I won't, have to worry about it anymore. My friend said, you might book something if you quit now, so don't quit. Keep on doing this, and if you get rejected, it's not you. It's just what you didn't offer a certain flavor. Like, let's say you gave them an apple and they're looking for an orange. So it's not you. It's what you're offering. And there's times where you may not book one audition, but the person that you may have auditioned for might bring you in for something else. So yeah, definitely persistence, and do it for the passion if you really, really love it.
And also, don't you think that, I guess, I feel like everyone's career seems to be, sometimes it's just a bit of luck. Like sometimes it's like, it doesn't matter really how good you can be really fantastic at what you do, but if you don't get the chance to do it, you just get stuck, right? So I feel like so many people that I meet have got into like stuff like you guys are doing from just some complete fluke that someone you knew somebody else, and that even though you were trying and auditioning and do all that didn't get you anywhere, but it was the guy that knew someone that knew someone that knew someone that knew you that got you that gig, that got you started. Like, I feel like I've pitched for so many things that I just haven't got. Yeah, it's a guy that I forgot about that I knew from 15 years ago that got me that gig. I feel like almost the pitching part of it, I almost feel like it doesn't work very well, but the completely lucky strand of knowing somebody knows somebody else, that seems to be more lucky for me than actually physically pitching for stuff that I never get.
Mm-hmm.
I agree, but like at the same time, the more you do something, the more chances you have.
Right.
Luck, So like it's column A, column B.
Mm.
Yeah.
I agree.
Sometimes you got to create the opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just
feel like
closes, kick open a window.
No, I think it's true. I just feel that whatever I pitch for, I never get ever. So like, I don't think I've got anything I've ever pitched for in my entire existence. But I get other stuff from other places, So I think you are right. That's probably just my story. My pictures are just terrible. I don't get anything.
You're gonna get it. I believe.
You're Grant.
You
you're
just
gonna
tell
get
that
it.
to Grant Kirkhope.
It doesn't work anymore.
Grant, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it when it counts, man. The Super Mario
I believe
movie.
in you.
Oh God. I hope so.
Yeah. Well, that's so true. I mean, just the reason I'm here right now is because I did Composer Code. I met Ben. We became really good friends. He introduced me to Dak. I came to VGM Con. We did a panel together. I mean, so it's amazing. And you never like set out to do those things. It's just like you just want to make friends and do art, and then all of a sudden these things start happening. So speaking of art and friends, well, friends not really related, but let's go back to our craft of music. So Ben, I know that you obviously are a huge jazz nerd. I know, Grant, you were big into metal. Sydney,
Totally.
were you into classical music before video game music?
Yeah, I'm classically trained.
Yeah. So everyone has obviously have these, because video game music is it really is a young thing. It's only been around since like, whatever, the 80s, maybe the 70s, if you count like Pong or something. So it's very young. So obviously we all come with these previous influences. I'm curious, how has your previous inclination towards certain genres of music affected your art in video game music? And Ben, I'll start with you.
Well, for me, since my work is so analytical, I definitely take everything from the perspective of like a jazz nerd. Like, how does this song make sense from a jazz nerd perspective, which I think some people don't appreciate as much as others. But yeah, I think maybe my influences or my preferences have caused me to gravitate towards certain things too. Like Nintendo music has always been like my absolute favorite, and I think it's because there is so much kind of jazz influence in the early Nintendo composers and that whole, and in J-pop in general, like Japanese music in general really is so influenced by American jazz. And then they kind of took that influence and molded it into this new thing that I find super interesting. So I very much gravitate toward that whole side of the video game music scene. Whereas, yeah, there's a whole world of more classically influenced or more like Western influenced video game soundtracks that are like amazing. And I could give more attention to.
For sure. Well, when I first got introduced to your channel, I mean, I'd never known what I came from a folk singer-songwriter background, which is so different from video game music, and I never understood what functional harmony was, or even what a 2-5-1 was. So that really opened my eyes, and so that was a different perspective, which I appreciated. Grant, you've talked about how your metal roots, that a metal riff from a metal song you told me the other day, and I forgot what it was, made its way into the GoldenEye 64, one of the GoldenEye 64 themes.
Yes, yeah, it was one of
talk
the,
a little
one of
bit
the metal
about
songs
that.
Yeah, it was like one of the metal bands I played for years ago that I wrote the songs for. One of the metal riffs, I kind of thought it fitted the cradle at the end of the GoldenEye, so I stuck that riff in there. But like, talk about the jazz thing. Like, I'm such a terrible jazzer. I couldn't do it. I haven't got the brains to do it, right? And like when I was doing the Mario Rabbids thing, I was thinking, oh my God, Koji Kondo's got that really kind of fantastic poppy jazzy style. How on earth am I going to ever do anything as good as that? Because I just thought I just can't manage it. I'm not good enough, right? So, it's funny how that side of it really frightens me, but the other side of it, I'm all right on. I can do the classical things. I was classically trained like Sydney, I wouldn't touch anything jazzy. It would just be awful. So, I'd have to do my little thing on the other side of it because I just couldn't do it. So I do think that you do gravitate towards your strengths probably. But I do think as video game composers, you do get asked to do a gazillion different styles, right? Like people just expect you to be able to do anything. Like you say, I want it to be a reggae or whatever it happens to be at the time. So I do feel like we do get put upon a lot for like, can you just please rap this track like the Beatles or whatever it could, or Black Sabbath or whatever it happens to be at the time. I do feel it's very like that, I think. Especially like, I think a modern media composer has to be able to get around most stuff, at least approximate it, like make it sound roughly near it. Like I can approximate jazz, but I couldn't possibly do what you do in no way. I could probably string some chords together that had more than just 1, 3, 5. Like there's a few more notes extra on top, that make it sound vaguely jazzy. It wouldn't be very good, but it might pass for somebody who didn't know what jazz was. You know what I mean?
Sydney, what about you? How has your background sort of influenced the way you create today?
So being classically trained, it's very much it's involved a lot of interpretation because you take a lot of existing classical works and basically make it your own, reinterpret it. One of my favorite things about school was the piano seminar we would have. So it'd be a handful of students, like each piano student had their teacher, and each teacher had a weekly session where all the students would get together and share what they're working on. And it was good for me to hear what everyone was working on and how interpretation really does have a big influence on your growth as a musician and understanding music history. But that also the classical thing just helped me really appreciate how quickly, because I do 2 tutorials every week for Smart Game Piano. And so my brain is full. I have erased some childhood memories to make room for that stuff. And so I have to constantly be writing new things down, and just being around sheet music all the time was really helpful to me to kind of learn, oh, this is going to be more readable if I put it in this way. Just kind of learning how, people in the past do it and how that translate to modern day era, what still is around and what is not really used so much anymore. Basically learning to communicate is a big reason why people should study classical, I think.
I like that. Lyric, what about you, my friend? And Natty, feel free to chime in as well. I'm not sure. I actually don't know much about your background before getting into video games, but how has, your influences before video game music affected the way that you make your arrangements and your covers now?
Well, I gotta say, I really grew up listening to a lot of kind of soft pop because I actually grew up without a lot of internet access. So I would kind of just listen to the radio, and I didn't like the cheesy pop they had, and I didn't like I didn't really like the country or classic rock because I didn't really grow up with that stuff. I kind of just
like Phil Collins type stuff? Against all odds.
Honestly, like stuff like when you think of like The Script, The Fray, kind of contemporary pop type songs.
Dude, if you could bust out a Fray song in high school at the piano, I'm just talking. Yeah, I
gotta say
the ladies would be all up on.
I gotta say that kind of genre is probably what got me into piano in the first place. Like being able to clearly hear, like, oh, that's that song, and not having to have a specific instrumentation. It's just those soft pop songs I listened to tended to be way more recognizable by their melody and how they sound. And I didn't grow up with the piano. I only started in high school. So having those songs to be able to play really encouraged me to just follow playing the piano more. And I gotta say, it's really led me to where I am today. I would not have started playing piano without my growing up listening to the radio and stuff.
Awesome. I want to ask a question, kind of a fun question to break it up. But before I do, I also just want to remind everybody watching that if you have any questions for our guests here, feel free to type those in the chat. We'll make sure we get those asked. So I just have this is kind of just a fun question, but I'm curious if you guys could take your skills in your current craft, whether it's voice acting or keys or guitar, whatever instrument you're most prolific in, and you could just copy and paste that, duplicate that to another instrument, and just be instantly awesome at that instrument. What instrument would you choose? Elisa, we'll go with you.
God,
first.
piano, please.
Yeah.
So
Same.
the way Crimson Song is written, and I had a MAGFest panel about this a couple of days ago, is that I burst into song with my musical theater training, lyrics and melody sometimes just come out. And then I turn to my husband and I go, all right, what chords am I implying with this melody? And then he actually has to like pick it out.
Right.
And if I could learn any kind of chorded instrument, whether a piano or a guitar, one, I could accompany him so he can actually play guitar solos, but I can also write my own stuff better, hopefully, potentially. So that's kind of been like, that's haunting me in my quarantine to-do list. Like, maybe you should start learning some music theory or something, or some piano. I don't know.
I happen to know a pretty sweet YouTube channel of someone who teaches piano in a very smart way. I'll have to do a little research and get back to you on that. That's awesome. Grant, what about you, my friend?
It'd be piano too, actually. I'm the world's worst pianist. Like, I couldn't play anything.
The world's
I've
worst.
written.
I
I'm the
finally
world's
met him.
worst.
We're looking all over for
I
him.
really could. I couldn't play a single piece of mine on the piano back to you. I couldn't do it. I haven't got the ability. I should probably watch Sydney's channel too, I think.
Your music's really hard on the piano. It's super hard.
That's because I don't write the piano. I've got no idea what. I can't do it. Because I'm so bad at it. So I really wish I could play. I mean, I write on keyboard. I do that. So I'm a very one-handed thing, and I can play chords a bit, but playing both hands. I guess because I'm a classical trained trumpet player, I'm not used to two lines, right? I'm used to just one nice, easy line to play. So the thought of having chords and a top line, as well, is just. I would love to be good at piano because people keep saying to me, "Go on, Grant, just play one for us." I'm like, I just can't do it. I can get my ukulele out and just mess around with it, but I really can't. I'd love to be able to sit down and just play my stuff at piano. I get loads of gigs; it'd be great, but I just can't do it. Some crap. So that's that. So Sydney, I'm coming to your channel to learn.
Yay!
I am recruiting. We're recruiting here.
Yes, I'm coming.
Making transactions happen. This is good. Ben, what about you, my friend? What would you choose?
The smart answer, like for having a better career and easier life, would be piano. But if, like, I like to try and pick up and learn new instruments, and it's hard to get very far without putting a lot of time in. But the one instrument that I know I'll never be able to learn is violin or any stringed instrument like that, because you just need like 8 years of sucking before you can even make a good sounding note.
Right.
And
we're
like,
getting
at
old,
this point in my
8
life,
years, we can't afford 8 years of sucking at this
I
point.
know, right? Like, what? I'm gonna be middle-aged, and all of a sudden I can play a violin. Like, who wants that? But I would love to skip that and just be able to like play violin. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Especially after watching the hit points, you're just
like, right?
Oh gosh. What about you, Natalie?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty happy with piano, but I would say guitar maybe.
Nice.
Yeah, I know like
Sweet.
a few chords on guitar.
Yeah, after
like
everyone else's
really...
answers, you're like, I'm good with piano.
Must be nice.
Hey, you guys made me realize. I'm like, I'm pretty happy I can play it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, no one likes a bragger, Natalie. No one likes a bragger.
Take it back. I take it back.
Awesome. Sydney, what about you?
Well, I am also happy with piano, but honestly, either guitar or drums, and mostly just kind of for personal reasons. Like, I just want to get 2 beers in and bring up a guitar on stage in front of people and just like and just
Exactly.
play, just be shameless. Cause like I can kind of like play some chords, but I just want to be able to do so like really flawlessly. There's just something really unifying about an acoustic guitar, and that's the hardest one to play. So I'm gonna get better at that.
Exactly.
If
And you
you
don't necessarily need an amp. You can just kind of bust it out
Yeah,
and play.
exactly.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
If you haven't done a 2 beers in open mic night with an acoustic guitar, man, you haven't lived.
I haven't done it where
Ooh.
you guys will be able to see it.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Lyric, what about you, man?
For me, it would probably be drums, and it's because I like to listen to a lot of new music. Like, it feels like every week I'm listening to something different, and so it would be really great because some of these songs are absolute bops. I would love to be able to just be here and like have a drum kit next to me, and I hear a bop come on, and I can just play along, and it'll work because it's drums, and I just have to jam out to the rhythm, which is it's fun, and I would love to do that. So yeah, drums. It's so easy to vibe to.
Playing drums is a very visceral experience. It's definitely unlike anything else. I mean, it's like so primitive. You're going back to like how humans made music on like homemade instruments and stuff. So it's just like it's really cool. Natty, you have anything, man? I feel bad you haven't contributed much. I want to bring you into the convo here.
I think you're muted.
No.
I think he wants piano too.
Oh, am I
That's what I
muted?
heard.
Wow, I didn't actually know that this entire time. That's hilarious.
You've been talking. I'm concerted.
No, but I sing. I have not really been trained at all. I want to be, but aside from that, I would probably either piano or drums. I tried piano as a kid, but my hands don't like listening to me too much, so all of those types of instruments are hard, but I would absolutely love to learn piano. It has been a goal of mine for basically my entire life.
Sydney, we got to get a referral link
Sydney,
going here.
yeah.
Is this just like a
25%
secret way for
off.
me to get new students? Thank you.
Yeah.
That counts for you.
Oh man, Danielle, what about you?
I would love to get better with the guitar. I've been playing it since college, and all I know is like a basic scale. But I would love to get better with it because I do sing with it a little bit. But it's like I'll play the same 3 or 4 chords over and over again, and it's like wish I would be better with it.
Yeah,
This
guitar
is
is.
the MAGWest headlining band for the next MAGWest, right? This is the headlining band right here.
Yeah.
Oh my
all-
God.
This
Yes,
is
it
it right
is.
here, guys.
Oh, yes,
Well,
it is.
This is going to be it. This
Look,
is it.
Natty's even going to be the lead singer. This is
Yeah.
incredible.
Mhm.
We're gonna be the only band with 12 pianists by the end of it. But it's okay. That's awesome. Well, guys, I think a lot of us, or a lot of you here, from 2010 to 2020, 2020 is often at the end of a decade is often a time of reflection. You look back at your career and your art. And I know a few of your stories here, and I know from 2010 to 2020 was really when you guys saw your career or your art really start to take off and become something more sustainable. And so I'm curious, what sort of a career high point for you as you look back on the last 10 years, something that you remember very fondly about your career, if you'd care to share that. Natalie, if you have something,
Sure.
we'd love to hear it.
Yeah. So on the video game front, getting to do a lot of arrangements and original music for the Red Dead Redemption 2, and getting to do the
Wow.
motion caption, and that was amazing. And that was one of the cooler things I've ever done, and it really opened up my appetite for writing for, video games and trying to like do more of that kind of stuff creatively.
So now you said motion capture. Sorry to interrupt. You did like motion capture for the game?
Yeah.
Wow.
For whenever you see somebody playing piano in one of those saloons, or there are 2 female characters, Abigail and I forget the other one, but they play.
Wow.
Yeah, it's me, and they literally
That's awesome.
That's
like
wow.
That's awesome.
Like huge warehouse. Yeah, if you guys play this game, check out like when you hear people playing in the saloon, it's me. It's like my hand. They just put it on the guy who's doing
great.
it.
Yeah, so
great.
one of those low budget
Awesome.
indie games, Red Dead Redemption 2. I don't
It
know
was
if people
amazing.
have heard of it.
I mean,
Did you have-
everybody at Take-Two is just the coolest people I've ever worked with. It was just it honestly made me realize like how fun it is to do video game music. So
Did you have to wear all the balls on your
all of it.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was like
Oh, that's so
toe,
cool.
like all black. I felt like Tom Cruise in that scene where he's being dropped into
That
this
is
giant white warehouse. It was the coolest thing ever, honestly. But even later on we had sessions with other musicians where we were creating, like improvising. You asked before about like how your previous musical education contributed to what you're doing now. Like they would just tell us, okay, now improvise a rag, or like improvise this, and it was just the coolest experience. I loved it, and that was a definite highlight. And getting to work from the beginning on Mean Girls with Tina Fey and her husband Jeff Richmond was also like very much a highlight. So those are two things there's other things, but those are the two things I would list.
Do the Red Dead thing just do like it's 120 beats per minute, A minor, off you go? Is that like everything's? I've read that somewhere in the first game. That band that did it was like every single piece was 120 beats per minute. It was all in A minor, and you just jammed in and just put it together. Is that right?
Well, what I contributed to were the saloon scenes, the playing at home. The two ladies that play at the house. So that was like. They either had like specific, because they're so detail oriented, they're amazing. It's amazing the detail, you guys know. So they either asked me for like specific things that I had to prepare in advance, or they had me improvise things on the spot. There were scenes that like they had me just like score it on the spot. They just like would put me in front of the piano. They'd be like, "This is what's happening. This guy is narrating this scene, and you just play whatever." Like they had me improvise certain things that are in the game.
That's like a pianist in the old musical and the old black and white movie days, right? They just sit in front of the screen and play along with the action, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. They put it in front of me on the screen, and everything was just like, just play.
That's fantastic.
It was the coolest thing ever. I had like days and days and days of it, but I could have done it for the whole year. It was amazing. So much fun. Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Elisa, what about you? What's a highlight in your career over the past 10 years?
Wow. Yeah. So the last 10 years, I don't know, I probably experienced it. It was probably like during my Saturn return or something, because there's like mad stuff that I'm actually looking back. It's like, wow, all of that happened in the last 10 years. Okay, dang. So playing Tyrene Calypso in Borderlands 3 is like all the way up here in terms of like awesome things I've done. But even things like, hey, I started my degree in 2009, and in 2018 I finally graduated and got a PhD. Mother of pearl.
Wow.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Congratulations.
Yes, congrats.
Thank you. And like just having that happen, I was kind of going through pictures and sometimes that like retrospective way you do, and I found a picture of me wearing the doctoral regalia, but it was from like 2010, and it was because I'd gone into the bookstore and I was having a pretty weird kind of crisis of, do I really want to do this? Do I really want to commit? And I'm like, let me see how this feels. So I went to the bookstore during picture day, and they had the doctoral regalia out, like, hey, doctoral folks, take your picture. And I'm like, all right, so I'm only in my second year, but could I convince you real quick, since it's slow, can I take a picture in this gear even though I haven't graduated yet? And they're like, this is such a bizarre request that sure, screw it. Nothing else is happening this afternoon. Why not? Go ahead, kid. So I put on all of the regalia. You get like a velvet puffy hat and stuff with a cool tassel, and like everything's velvet. It's really cool. Big sleeves. And so I took the picture, and then I looked at it, and like the feeling that it gave me when I saw myself wearing that was basically the fuel for like the next 9 years. Because it was like, I need to look like this someday. I need to wear the freaking puffy hat. And so like the fact that I finally got there took me 9 years, but that I think is huge.
That is so inspiring. That's really cool. Really cool.
Gotta commit to the joke.
Congrats. I'm sorry I didn't address you as Dr. Melendez. Please.
Thank you.
Forgive me.
I'll eat it up because I especially nowadays, I don't call myself doctor in public. I don't have a lot of occasion to actually do that. So whenever you You can actually lay it on me. I don't mind.
Absolutely. You've earned it. Sydney, what about you? What's something that has been sort of a high point in your career over the past 10 years?
I think probably the most emotionally impactful one was playing with the 8-Bit Big Band back in 2018. That's like actually when I first met Natalie. It was so like the year before was like the worst year of my life. Lost somebody very important, and that was huge because it was just like, oh my gosh, music is amazing. I got to work with these amazing people, get to do video game music on piano. It was all at once really humbling and all at once like really inspiring because it's like I get to do this like for fun and like I get to do it for a job. Like that was just like that hit of dopamine was like nothing else, So like and that's what something I think kind of like inspired me to like kind of step up my game for Smart Game Piano. And there's been lots of little successes since then. So I'm really grateful for that instance.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Danielle, what about you? What's something that has been really impactful for you in your career over the past 10 years?
There's a lot that's happened during the past 10 years. It's to the point where it's like, have I really done a lot of these games and shows and stuff? But I think one thing that I have to think about, it kind of goes full circle back to when I was younger and I played something like Final Fantasy VII. Getting a role in 7 Remake was like the hugest part of like, it felt like my life. Really cried in the bathroom for a half an hour after I was done recording, and I'm like, wow, that happened. Like we did that. Like we actually did that. And so going from like, I looked back at like little Danielle and I'm like doing the little voices of Barrett and Cloud, and then here I am in this game, and like it's a small part, but it's still a huge honor to be a part of something like that.
That's awesome. Well, I think what brings us all together here on this call, even though many of you have different facets of game audio that you specialize in, is that we're all or everyone here is a creative professional. And I'd venture a guess that a lot of people who are watching this are creative professionals or want to be creative professionals. They want to create art and have that sustain their career. What advice would you guys have for people who want to turn their creativity and turn their art into something that can sustain them? Lyric, we'll start with you, man.
Honestly, the advice that I have would be to just start doing it, because I find that whenever I'm doing a project, the hardest part for me is not actually doing the project, because once I get it going, I can just keep working on it. But getting started, I will always have a million excuses not to get started. It will never work. Like, oh, I've got other stuff to do. Like a billion stuff on that list. Just getting started, working toward that goal of making a living off of it. I think is the best advice I can give, is to just kind of do it. I did not start making videos with the intent of being able to make a livelihood off of it. I was really kind of blessed to be able to have one of my videos blow up, which was my piano cover of Hopes and Dreams from Undertale, which is just an amazing game and an amazing community. And I received so much support from them. And it's really the video game community, the video game music community, that has allowed me to make a living doing what I love and what I'm passionate for. So I think just chase your dreams, honestly, as cheesy as that sounds. Like, in the most literal sense, just start doing it,
That's great. Ben, what about you, my friend? You've had a very unusual meteoric rise to fame. So I'm curious your perspective. I think I've heard it before, but I think everyone else would be curious as well to hear your perspective.
Yeah, it was interesting when you were asking about like highlight of the last 10 years, because I was thinking about like 10 years ago being 16 and like thinking I'm gonna be a famous prog rock drummer, and just jamming out to Rush in my basement, and then now like totally not that's not at all been my experience, but that's fine. I think beyond just doing it, I totally second Lyric's advice. I think you also have to be open to go wherever, definitely shoot for a goal and have something that you're striving for. And then if you ever hit, kind of bounce into a different direction that seems interesting, just go for that. Because I totally had 10 different, this is going to be my job, where I'm going to be a drummer, so I'll study music in school. The only degree you can take where you get to play drums is jazz studies. Sure, jazz, I can do that. Then got super into jazz. Okay, I'm gonna be a jazz drummer, gonna move to New York and do that thing. And then I don't want to move to New York. Maybe I'll try and write music. And then just one thing after, maybe I'll try and write for games. That might be interesting. I really like watching YouTube videos. Maybe I'll try and make a YouTube video for fun. Oh, that's way more fun. Just kind of following all these different that sounds a little ADHD, honestly, but just trying a bunch of different things. And then the one thing that actually a lot of people wanted to see more of was this YouTube channel. And so it was that's clearly what is going to work for me, and it's totally fun and fulfilling. And I never would have imagined that was going to be my job, is analyzing music theory from video game music, but I couldn't be happier with where I am now.
That's awesome. I think there's a lesson there in following your curiosity.
Also, I always think that I always say to people, there's a few little points I always kind of say. One is don't argue with the creative director. It's a complete waste of time. There's no point trying to tell the creative director that you're a composer and he doesn't understand. He's going to go, really, you're fired. I'm going to get the guy. There's going to be a million guys stood behind you want to do your gig. That's never going to work out. And also, don't think just being a fantastic at what you do is going to get you anywhere, because there's a million people out there who are fantastic. You have to get spotted by somebody. Just having a YouTube channel or your website with your great music on it, no one's ever going to hear it. They're never going to find it. I kind of feel like the battle is 50% is your talent, but 50% is the people that that kind of network and that thing that you do that gets you to that point of doing something. So when you get the chance to write or do something, you're good enough to do it, right? I always think about, Danny Barnowski's a really good friend of mine. I've known Danny for a very long time. And he was that guy that just worked in Lowe's and Home Depot, humping stuff around, dreaming about a video game composer. And, he got his big break was getting a piece of music, a cover of one of My Perfect Dark tunes onto OC Remix, where the guy that did Cannibal heard it and he asked him to do Cannibal, and then them Super Meat Boys, heard him doing that, and then it just kind of spirals on. I feel like, you have to get to be somewhere where there's people doing that thing that you want to do. If it's a game jam somewhere or going to cons and meeting people, just sitting at home. And I do feel like composers and in general don't like to meet people. I like to sit at home and not have to meet anybody if I can possibly help it. I like to just sit here and not talk to anybody. That's my best thing. But I think we're all quite introverts mostly. But I think you have to get,
Here.
But I think you have to get good at putting on that extrovert, jolly persona on the outside that isn't really you. So when you meet people, oh yeah, he's such a great, fun guy, let's hire him. And really, you're really miserable and you're crying at home every day because you hate everything. Right?
That's basically why I'm helping Lyric. I'm the extrovert. He does all the real work, but I do all the talking and all of the communication. I'm the extrovert.
You need to have that. You need to be able to project that thing. I remember reading there's a very famous agent in LA called Richard Kraft who does, Danny Elfman and super great composer. And I remember read an interview with him 15 years ago, and he was sort of saying, people like the composer and to be that jolly, funny guy. You can crack a joke, have a bit of a laugh. That's the guy they want to hire. They don't want the introvert who sat there just going, I don't want to talk to anybody. They don't want that. So he said, get good at putting that face on. Just being an actor, I guess. And even though you might hate it, get good at it, because that's going to get you a gig.
Yeah, it's to that point, to piggyback, it's a couple of things. One, even just being a musician at the gig, sometimes the person who's a good hang and knows how to wrap a cable
right.
can exceed talent potentially.
So true.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
So be a good hang. But also to that point, it's don't just network up in terms of I'm going to network with that person because they're going to get me a job, but also be in your friends' stuff.
Right.
And just network along the lines of the people that are trying to do the same thing you do. One of the coolest, funnest, dumbest musical things that I've ever done was composing music as part of Mikey Newman's Film Joy channel. So he does movies with Mikey and video essays, and we're on a different show called Deep Dive, and he's like, I'm doing an episode about Shrek, and I'm like, that would be the dumbest thing ever if you had some like somber cover of All Star like Mad World-esque, and he's like, could you do that?
Yes.
And I'm like, I'm going to say yes before I even know if I have the technical ability. And I just threw something together, and that was like, I call it Dark Star. And that was like the dumbest, most awesome thing I feel like I've ever done. But like, if you don't have that communication, you know, with your friends who are also doing like the same kind of thing, you never know what kind of fun, silly stuff you can do to like stretch your musical capabilities. So yes, network up and, you know, make friends with the folks that are doing the thing you eventually want to do, but like, be in your friend's stuff.
Yeah, like I always say that, you know, just say yes to everything. Even if you've got no idea.
That was going to be mine.
Yeah, it's so true, Natalie. Even if you haven't got a clue how to write it, I got asked for something marching band plus hip hop together, you know, and I was like, what a ridiculous idea that is. And I was like, yeah, I do that all the time. That's my favorite thing to do. You just go home and go, shit, I'm going to put that together, right? You know, so just say yes, because you kind of go, oh, I'm not sure. Then they're going to go, right, next guy. You know what I mean? Just say yes and worry about it later. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
That's right.
Also, eat your vegetables and drink water.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow, that is great. That is so true.
That's the best advice.
Hydrate.
Yeah,
Brain
hydrate
food.
is
Yeah.
hydration is key.
Yeah,
Important.
me and Sydney talked about the importance of exercise when we chatted, and that was like is indicting to me. I was like, oh, I need to go run after this. Well, guys, we are out of time. I know this is crazy. We could talk for another hour. This has been so cool. We actually got a few questions in from chat. So I'm gonna have Dak plug y'all's social accounts so that people can ask you those questions. But man, guys, thank you so much. This has been so much fun. I feel like we've all become best friends. And I'm very happy.
New band, of course. Definitely. New band next year, MAGFest.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is the headlining.
Our first
band.
song is going to be a cover of Dark Star.
Yes.
Yay,
Oh my
yay.
gosh, yes.
It's absolutely done. This is how collaboration happens.
Our 12 piano
Exactly.
orchestra cover
Yeah.
of Dark
I love
Star.
it.
That's right.
Yes.
We'll be the
All
video
right,
game
so with
piano
that,
players.
guys, I'll bid you all adieu, and we'll go ahead and hand it back to Dak. So thank you all for joining, and I hope to talk to all of you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Guys.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.